Hello, good morning, or it's afternoon actually. Hello, everybody. Kathleen, hello. Mylan, Naima, so nice to see you all. Hi. Hi. I know that, yeah, I'm just super glad that you're all here. I wasn't sure if this week, being the last week of the year, would be a good time for everyone to meet or not, but I love talking anatomy and I thought, I might even come and talk to myself, but I'm so glad that you're all here so I don't have to talk to myself. Okay, hang on one second. Let's got our streaming going. Perfect. Okay, cool. So happy almost New Year. Happy end of 2021. This is a great time to be meeting. Who just came in? Jackie, I'm glad that you're here and someone's chatting with me. I'm so glad you're using a Grand Rising. Naima, love it. So Jackie and Naima, I'm glad that you are here. Please feel free to use the chat. You can use the chat even if you're on camera. You can come on camera, come off camera, can be muted, unmuted, whatever works for you. I have a very hot topic I would like to talk to you guys about today. Very hot topic. It came up a few times over the past weekend when I was gathering with friends and family. And I remember saying a few times out loud even, I wish I was recording this conversation right now because I really want to tell my practitioners this. So I decided I would just remember the conversation and share it with you. It's so common, and you have probably had this conversation as well about other types of modalities outside of what you do in your office for your clients and students, and whether or not your clients should be engaging in other modalities and where you kind of intersect. And it's such a big topic because it tells us what your clients and students are up to, what they're looking for, and also where we can fill in the gap in our practices and our modalities versus what other folks are doing. And a big key takeaway here is that if we're developing relationships and trust and really staying focused on our service and our end goal, which is to serve the people that have come to us for service, then what we want to do is also be a trusted source of information for them, right? So there's this idea around whether we should refer out and when not to refer out. And we talk about this a lot in my mastery program. So I want to touch on that today. Before I dive into the meat of all of that, again, I just want to thank you all for being here. Anna, I saw you popped in. I'm glad that you're here. Feel free to come off mute or off camera at any point. You are being recorded, so I'm hoping that you guys are all comfortable with where you're at. I'm going to talk for about 25 to 30 minutes on this really important topic. And then I'll open up the airwaves, if you will, for all of us to talk together. So if you have something on your mind, if you have a client question on your mind, if you have an anatomy question on your mind, if you have something on your mind that came up from what we shared today, all questions are open. So please feel free to either use the chat or come off mute or come on camera and the second half of the hour, engage with me because I would love to serve you in that way. For those of you who I've not met one-on-one yet, hi Betty, I'm glad you're here. For those of you who I've not yet met one-on-one, I'm Gina Schatz. I developed the Schatz method clinically as I was working with my own patients. I call them patients, and now I've referred to them as clients because it's a more universally understood term. But I do have a medical license, so that's why I was calling them patients. But patients, clients, students, whoever you're working with, my goal, like you, is to serve them massively with high value and also to get them out of pain. And what I found is that there is a combination between movement and manual practices that really, when blended together, can get that goal. So that's why I developed the method and I train in that method. But I don't really believe that you have to be versed in both manual and movement practices. What I do believe, which is what we're going to talk about today, is that we want to know the difference between what we do and what another practice does. So you can have a hybrid of how you work with folks. Most of us do at this point. We've been at it for a long time. We've added a lot of tools in our toolbox. We've been to training, we've done the CEs, and we add it all in. Not every single tool works for every client, and so we keep adding to our toolbox. Totally cool. But what happens when all of our tools don't work? Does that mean that we're a failure? Does it mean that we haven't really served? Or does it mean that we get to partner with another practitioner who does another modality? I'll give you a hint, it's the latter. We want to partner with another practitioner who does another modality. And in our mastery training, we have a whole program, a whole course inside that program called Partnering for a Pain-Free World. And I've been talking about this for a decade or more, actually, because it's a pre-recorded course at some point. And I know when I did it, I know what city I was in, it was a decade ago or more, like I said. The point is, in order for us to know how to reach the goal of the client that we're serving, we must know what they need. And in order to know what they need, it's a several step process. Simple, 2 or 3 steps. The first is we need to know anatomy, obviously, right? We need to know what the body's up to. We need to know how it's designed. We need to know what it needs. Then we need to be really skilled at what we do and know if what we're skilled at doing actually works with their goal to get them to where they need to go from where they are. And then when that doesn't actually serve them fully, we need to know what else is available so that we can then get them to their goal. In the reverse, we also want to know what the other modalities are so that we can know what was already done to their body that their body didn't respond to, because it's the body's way of communicating with us and letting us know what's up. It's also a way of letting us know what is going to potentially lead them in the opposite direction from their goal. And I'm being really gingerly here by saying there are some modalities when done at certain junctures don't help. They actually create more harm. We try not to involve ourselves with that, but we need to know what they are. Moreover, what we want to be able to do is have a conversation, an intelligent conversation with the people that we're serving so that they can know what they need to do next. Because as wildly skilled as we are, we might not have everything available in our toolbox to support one human being. Each human being is really complex. Like we need lots of stuff, right? Like I need lots of stuff just to get ready in the morning. I need all my things to get ready, right? So we all have lots of dimension to us. And so that's a good thing. That's not meant to be an overwhelming thing or a critical thing in any way. So one conversation that came up for me over the weekend, you guys have probably had a very similar conversation like this with a family member or a friend or even a client. Someone came to me and said, oh, I've been seeing a chiropractor, and this is not a dig on chiropractors. It's not a dig on physical therapists. It's not a dig on anybody that has a license that I don't have. It's just the conversation that came up. This family member came up to me and said, I've been seeing a chiropractor in the city where I live. We don't live in the same city, or I would be working with them. And it's not really helping. And I wonder what you think about that. And my first thought, which I said out loud, I had a little bit of Tourette's, I'm not going to lie. My first thought, is if it's not helping, why are you going? Like, why still keep trying? And here's the answer. The answer is because they don't know where else to go. Obviously, right? That's why this family member was asking me my thoughts on it, because they don't have another answer. So we are still in service when we give them an answer, even if the answer is to a different practitioner that's not me. And in this case, with this family member living out of town, it doesn't matter if it was a practitioner that does what I do. We don't live in the same town, so it's got to be referring out from me. But the point is that when we build our trust with the people that we're serving, even if it means sending them away for a minute, they will come back. And if they don't come back personally because they don't particularly need you one-on-one, they will send someone else that they love back to you because they will know that you will have the answer for them. In fact, I have, at this point, lots of referrals of folks who come to me who say, I don't know if you're who I need, but I know that you'll tell me who I need. And they're willing to pay for a session like that. So in order for us to be able to have a session like that with someone, we need to know where to send them. And I'm a big believer in, cross training when we're exercising our body. I love yoga, I love Pilates, I love weight training, I love all of it. I love a cross train idea. The same thing goes for body work. Even if we have a regular, like we're regularly at Pilates, we're regularly at yoga, it's still good to switch it up a little bit and maybe do, an outside walk once in a while. If we have a regular massage routine and we're getting regular weekly massages, my goodness, I think everyone should get daily massages. It's still a good idea to switch it up a little bit and maybe get some structural work in there too, right? So cross-training the body, because our bodies have a wide range of potential in them, which means they have a wide range of potential needs as well. So let's get specific here. When this family member asked me about the chiropractor and whether the chiropractor was someone that they should continue seeing, while I was flip at the beginning and said, well, is it working? And if not, then why are you going? Really what they're looking for is, how do I know if I need chiropractic? How will I know? And even if your clients are well-versed in anatomy, they're not any more well-versed in the other modalities than we are. So we need to be able to know what those other modalities are. This is my belief. We need to know what the other modalities are and what they actually treat in the body to be able to, in layman's speak, explain it to our clients and then refer them to wherever they need to go, or redirect them to a different path that would be more likely to serve their body. So for example, anyone here, use the chat or come off mute or something, interact with me if you would, and let me know, do you know the difference between massage therapy, chiropractic, and acupuncture? And if so, I hope you do, I'm pretty sure you all would. If so, when would you recommend that a client use one of those modalities over the other? Because they're very different modalities. And so how would we know if someone needs one over the other? How do we know when to refer them based on what the client is sharing with us, what their end goal is, and what that modality offers? Anybody here have a guess? Any ideas on that? Maybe you're already doing this in your practice, which would make me super happy and excited to know. And if not, then I'm glad you're here and then we're talking about it. Anybody have any ideas? I know for those of you who are using the chat, it usually takes a minute or two to get the question in. I'll start.
Oh,
hi.
Hi, Gina. This is Naima.
Hi, Naima.
Let's hear it. Huh?
Let's hear what you have to say. I'd love to hear your ideas on this.
Well, I wasn't sure where you were going with this, but just right offhand when you said it, of course, I'm thinking massage therapy. You're mainly dealing with the muscles. And I mean, there's other things, obviously, but then I'm thinking, chiropractic is more skeletal. And then I'm thinking acupuncture is more nerves, or am I saying that right? I'm like nerves. It's another word, but for whatever reason, it's not coming to me right now, but I think you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah. Is there more, Naima? Do you have more to share on that? Or
and then I actually was going to ask you what the second part of your question was, because I kind of it went out of my head.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, it is a good answer. Jackie's giving you props in the chat, Naima. It was a great answer. Yeah. So yeah, let's unpack it. So I love what you said. Massage therapy deals with muscles. Totally cool. And we're like obviously simplifying this. For those of us who are massage therapists, we all know that we do more than that, for sure. But let's just, again, we're looking at like how to layman's speak, explain it to a client who is just overwhelmed with options, right? And in pain on top of it, like they can't even hear us. Remember last week we talked about the nervous system. If they're in pain, they just want an answer. They don't really want to like casually talk about it. So massage therapy would be more for muscles. Chiropractic, as you mentioned, Naima, skeletal, so joints, bones, right? And acupuncture actually is an energy modality. So acupuncture works on the meridians in the body, which is Eastern anatomy. And we talk about that in our level 1 anatomy course here. Eastern and Western anatomy are different, very different. They're equally complex. And acupuncture is designed for movement of energy through the meridians. Yes, energy, exactly. I knew you knew it, Naima. So those three are very different, very different. And the question then is, which one does our client need? Well, at any given time, they might need all of them, for sure. And at any given time, they might need only one. So what we want to do is shorten the gap between our client's exploration and their results. And we want to get them there quickly, and we want to have them feeling empowered on the way. So when folks go, I believe when folks choose chiropractor when they're in pain, I believe that there is a choice around that when they know nothing about chiropractic. So let me be really clear. My belief, my experience, when clients and family members and friends choose a chiropractor when they're in pain and they know nothing about chiropractic and they haven't had body work before, my belief in why they choose that is because a chiropractor is a doctor. So there is some sort of safety in choosing a modality that has doctor in it. I get that. I totally get that. this is not a dig on chiropractors. However, if the chiropractors aren't working with energy and the pain source is an energy disruption in that person's being, they're less likely to choose acupuncture because they don't understand what that is. And there's no doctor in front of the word acupuncturist. And so the chiropractic modality may not work for them. And now they're still in pain. And that's a problem. So again, we want to shorten the distance between where they are and their end goal, their result of living and being pain-free. And we want to fill in the information for them to know where to go. So I'm not a chiropractor or an acupuncturist, and I would immediately refer someone out if I thought that was going to get them out of pain, if there's something I couldn't do. And I say that to my clients when they're insistent, like, no, Gina, I want you to be the one. I know you've done great work before, and I know you can do it. And I say, yeah. And the energy work that I do is like this much, and it's not acupuncture. And the work that I do on structural work is amazing. And you have a joint problem. You have other things going on. This is out of my scope. Or even if it's, Atlas axis, C1 and C2, I can't get in there. It doesn't matter how much I dig with my thumbs. I can't reach that place. They need an upper cervical practitioner to get there. And it might be 1 or 2 treatments in that upper cervical doctor's office. Then they can come back to me and we can finish what we were up to. And when I explain it to them in that way, then I'm not overwhelming them with ideas. And they're also, of course, getting to their end result, which is always the goal. So for example, when I had a client come to me with a frozen shoulder, and she was positive that it was in her shoulder. Positive. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't she be positive of that? Of course, right? It's like literally I can't lift my arm. Frozen shoulder is a complicated topic. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago too. Hi, Diana. I'm glad you're here. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Frozen shoulder is really complicated. And this person also had gone to upper cervical because I knew that there was something up with her atlas axis that I couldn't quite address. So she'd been to the upper cervical chiropractor. She'd been with me, and now she has frozen shoulder. She went back to the upper cervical chiropractor after I told her, I don't think this is muscular. I don't think I can get in there for you because I've done all my tools and I want you to be out of pain. Gina, no, I want you to do it again. Okay, so she came back for a second appointment and we moved the needle like a tiny bit. Oh, I want you to do it again. She scheduled another appointment. On the 3rd appointment, I said, I'm not interested. I don't want to keep taking your money and have you be in pain. That doesn't work. That feels like highway robbery. And I really want you to have some relief. And we're budging the needle. And I know that the work that I do is effective if it's the tool that's needed. So I want you to have effective results. She went back to the upper cervical person who said, no, it's not chiropractic. It's out of my scope too. And then she started panicking a little bit. So we sent her on to acupuncture, and she was confused about the acupuncture. So she didn't go. She instead diverted and went to physical therapy. Hi, Anna. I'm glad you're here. She instead diverted herself and went to physical therapy, thinking it was muscles again, and it hasn't moved the needle. So then she came back and now she's in acupuncture. So, and she's actually also getting some other work done because it turns out that it is tied to old patterns that have nothing to do with muscles or bones, believe it or not. So she's also seeing a psychotherapist at this point too. And that is actually giving her range of motion in her shoulder. So why am I making this? Why am I bringing this up and making this all, 5 different modalities in one client? Because in order for us to get our people out of pain, I believe we get to know what the other modalities do. So if I know that acupuncture moves energy, and I know that each person is a Venn diagram of body, mind, and spirit, body, mind, and energy, then at any point in the Venn diagram, when their pain patterns overlap, I need to know which one started it so I can get to the genesis of the problem and send them to a modality that actually addresses that part of the Venn diagram, rather than trying to support the Venn diagram over in my neck of the woods and hoping for a trickle-down effect. You can do it that way, but it's a long road. It takes a lot more time. It costs them a lot more money. And in my opinion, it's not really working in the intention that we have, which is to get folks out of pain and towards their goals really quickly. So I've said to my clients for years, and I say it to my practitioners, that if I can't solve the problem that you came to me with in 4 sessions, then I'm not your girl. And I mean it. And I've had other practitioners say, what? Why wouldn't you want them to come weekly? Shouldn't they come more? that's sure. If that's the way you want to run your practice, you get to do what you want to do in your practice. For me, my claim is that I want you to be pain-free. And if that means that you have a regular schedule to stay out of pain and to be on a preventive program for pain, cool. You can come every week if you want to. But if you come to me with pain that I can't resolve for you by the 4th session, I'm not your girl, because it resolves sooner than that if you're working the genesis. So if someone comes to me with musculoskeletal pain and it's really an energy source, I get to send them to an acupuncturist to get through to the energy, and then they can come back to me for more functional work. Because if they have a musculoskeletal problem, they are probably compensating. There might be some referral patterns for sure. But if that's not the source of it, it's not going to alleviate the problem. It's just going to take care of the symptoms from the problem. And the same thing goes with chiropractic. The same thing goes with acupuncture and all the other modalities as well. I'm just using these 3 as an example today to keep it simple. So the way I explain it to my clients who are in exploration around it, like I went to the chiropractor 4 times, my pain is still there, and now the chiropractor wants me to come twice a week for 6 weeks. And I can't usually hide anything on my face. And I say, well, if it isn't working, why are we going back? And if the client says, I don't know, then what I immediately think is 2 things. A, I get to be in service to this person and fill in some blanks for them. And B, why is that practitioner not explaining better what they're doing? See, that's the other piece that's partnering for a pain-free world that's on us. We get to be really clear in our messaging to our clients that we're serving on what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it's tied to their pain and their end goal. If you can communicate those 4 things, excuse me, while you're serving someone, they're on board and empowered with the program. But if instead they get to us 3 or 4 sessions, their pain hasn't budged at all, they're not trusting anything at this point. Themselves, the result, you, the world, like they're not empowered. They're in pain and it's not moving. So then to just hook them in for more sessions, I don't believe that's service. I believe that's scarcity on everyone's part. So I would rather walk someone through exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and then let them know how the body responded. Like, look, this is my plan. I've been to this rodeo before. This is what I think needs to happen. This is what I think needs to happen based on my previous experience and what your body is telling me. And now your body's not responding. So it's not working. What I know to do really well and I've had success with before isn't working. So I'd like you to go see someone else. Here's who I'd like you to see, and here's why. And then walk them through cleanly that as well. This is who I'd like you to see. This is the modality that I think is needed, and this is why. And then you bring your client on board with their own intuition to weigh in on the conversation with you, so that they're part of the conversation instead of estranged from the body that they live in that's actually their enemy at this point because they're in pain. So when someone comes to me and says chiropractic hasn't worked and the chiropractor wants me to work more with them, what I say is, well, it sounds like it's not a joint issue then. Because if you're having pain is in muscles, it's not in bones. And if the pain hasn't gone away and it's in your muscles move bone. Well, right, but my chiropractor keeps saying that XYZ is out of alignment. I'm sure it is, because muscles move bone. So if the pain is present and the chiropractor has moved your bone and it didn't stay where they moved it, it's because the muscle moved it out. So now we're in muscle land. We're not in joint land. And then they're like, oh, and it makes sense to them, right? Well, I'm not out of alignment and I had deep tissue work and I'm still in pain and I can't sleep at night, and caffeine, I'm really sensitive to caffeine, and et cetera. Now you're starting to hear like there's energy imbalances, right? Because their circadian rhythm is off and their nervous system isn't quite responding as if they're getting all the touch that they're getting. Now we're into energy world. And so then you ask a couple more probing questions to confirm that. And that's really key. We need to know enough anatomy, both Eastern and Western, and enough about each of the other modalities to be able to see them clearly as separate, like Naima walked us through, right? Chiropractic is this, massage is that, acupuncture is that. 3 very different modalities. And we get to piece together in our mind what the anatomy is in a body, what's gone wrong in that anatomy, and what modality would address whatever's gone wrong. And then with love, send your people in that direction. because that will resolve it for them in a way that, you might not be able to with the toolbox that you have. And if you're blending things, great, awesome. I still invite us all to be honest about how much of our blending is available to us at any given time to serve a certain person. So this conversation is humbling, right? This conversation is humbling, and it usually will trigger a bunch of responses, usually from our ego, like, no, I want to be the end all for everyone. I totally get it. And especially for those of us who've been in the industry for decades, like I have, I have a wall full of certificates and a book full of CEs, right? Because you have to keep getting CEs every year to renew each one of your licenses. And I think that's great. We're never going to know all of it that we need to know about the body. And even with all that I know after 3 decades in the industry, I'm still only really an expert at this sliver of stuff. I'm not an expert at acupuncture. I'm not an acupuncturist, right? So me being an expert in my lane doesn't mean I'm not an expert if I'm not what someone needs. Jackie, in teaching yoga, I find that I'm usually a person's last resort. Yeah, right? The last resort thing really, it's like honoring, and it's also a lot of pressure, right? Because if we're the last resort, it means they've already gone through many different iterations of trying to get results, which means then that what we talked about last week, working with their nervous system, is heavy at hand, because they are disempowered, they are more afraid, they're frustrated, their neurochemical balance is now altered because they've been in pain for so long. And they're in sympathetic mode for sure. And yeah, when we're their last resort, and their last result, when we're their last resort, we get to also address their nervous system before we even add our tool into the mix. So wherever you are on your journey of partnering, I really recommend in your area where you are that you find other practitioners who are experts in their lane at what they do, even if they cross over a little bit, right? Like chiropractors sometimes get into herbs and massage therapists get into essential oils, and like, I get it. But find the person in your area that is an expert at what they do, right? Like in the city where I'm currently seeing clients, I know the upper cervical person, I know the acupuncturist, like I know the Thai person who does Thai massage. That it's just a different form of body work than the body work that I do. And I know what those modalities are, and I know who those people are. And when your people come to you and you give them a suggestion, they trust you. They trust you a lot. They know you, they like you, and they trust you. They will go to your recommended person without even blinking, which means that you get to go, I believe, you get to go and have an appointment with that person first so that you feel it in your body. You know what they do. You know what their office looks like. I made the mistake of doing that before. I networked with a few practitioners in my area and referred some clients there. And then like nobody was talking. The client wasn't talking. The practitioner wasn't talking. I didn't know what, like, did they resolve it? Like what happened? And after probing a little bit, I found out from the client that the space that the other practitioner was working in was really not conducive to working with people. It was very dirty, it was hectic. There was dogs and phones and mold and dirt and all kinds of things that we would never get away with if we had a medical license. And so I didn't know that. And I was really humbled because I had sent about 6 or 7 clients in that direction. And so when we send our clients somewhere that gets them a dead end or not a great result, it does reflect back on us. So what we want to do is really create a network of people that we know, like, and trust, so that we can send our clients there, so that our clients can get what they need because we are in service. And if they get what they need, when they get what they need, and their pain is resolved, perfect. They're going to remember that we're the ones that solved it for them. And that's really the key. Now, I could go on about this and on about this. I feel like I really just even touched the surface on this one. Like I said, we talk about it a lot. The key takeaway here is that we want to know in an expert way what our lane offers. We want to know in an expert way what our lane offers. We want to know other modalities and what they offer. We want to know which modality is really needed for our clients to get to their end goal. by knowing what's gone wrong for them, and even if we can identify what the genesis of their problem is, and then trust that that's the right thing to do and refer them out, send them off to go get what they need so that they can be pain-free. Interesting that at the very beginning of my track as a body worker, I believe that I was set up for this, and you may find that this has happened for you too in your experience, because I was on referral from the lead physical, I've said this before, from the lead physical therapist at the Cleveland Clinic who was working with the neurology department. And when they were working with clients that they couldn't serve, they sent them to me. So I really learned from my mentors and peers on how to do this very thing. And what I didn't recognize was that not only was that absolutely the way to serve the people that we're serving, but it ended up creating a whole method for me. Because what I did with that was think, well, what could I do differently than what this neurologist did and this really expert physical therapist did? What could I do differently than what those two practitioners did so I can fill in the gap in the middle? Because what you don't want to do is just try to mimic somebody else. You don't want to try to do chiropractic maneuvers or try to do energy work that an acupuncturist can do, or try to work with physical therapy. Physical therapy is another amazing modality. They're very myopic when they work on a joint to get it back into rehab. That's perfect if you have a client who just had knee surgery, or they have arthritis in a part of their body where that joint's no longer functioning. That's perfect for them. But if they have diagonals and compensatory patterns, that physical therapy is not going to resolve it, because now we're looking at where's the genesis of that. So again, I could go on and on. I hope that this stimulated you, though, to think about ways that you can be in full service, right? As we head into a new year, what new ideas are you going to bring into your practice, and what are you going to implement going forward? Maybe it's you're going to network. Maybe you're going to bring in a whole new way of creating a holistic approach for the people that you serve. Maybe it's something else. I'd love to hear what else you have going on, by the way, for the new year, if anyone wants to share. But I really wanted to bring this up because, again, over the weekend, I had probably 4 or 5 people asking me the same thing about the modalities that they were up to and the pain that they had. Anna, you sent me a love letter. Let me see this chat. Let me see what you wrote. When someone tells me they have chronic pain, Anna says, I find it helpful to map it out on the body. And if it correlates me well to a meridian, usually the gallbladder or the urinary bladder, in my experience, then I recommend supporting that system with Eastern medicine tools, cool, along with fascia release. I believe this approach supports whatever lies at the root cause while nurturing the nervous and muscular systems and perhaps beyond. Awesome. So it's a little blend of Eastern and Western medicine, which is great. So our approach is, wherever we come up with our approach from our strategic thinking, which I'm a big fan of, is exactly where we should go, right? And the proof is in, does it work, right? Do your people come back to you and say, oh my gosh, you've changed my life. My pain is now completely gone. Or do your people come back and say, it's close to being gone? When I said earlier that this conversation can sometimes bring up a little bit around ego, right? Like we want to be the one that solves it for our people. I totally get that. What we want to do is be really available for feedback, for honest feedback, right? If my person gets up off the table and I ask them, at the beginning of the session, their pain was at a 7, and at the end of the session, their pain's at a 5, I need to hear that. I need to know that it didn't quite get it for them. Hi, Allison, I'm glad that you're here. And if I'm not willing to hear that, then I need to have a talk with my own ego and get that out of the way, because it's not about me. It's about them. Did what I put together creatively and strategically serve them fully? And if the answer is no, I get to do better. Or I get to be honest about the idea that even in my strategic plan, like you have your gorgeous plan, Anna, that plan sounds amazing. And if it doesn't work for a particular person, it's not because it's not a good plan. It's because that's not what that person needed. And so if I'm still in service, it's not about me. It's about getting them to where they need to go. So yeah, I love that you shared that, Anna. Thank you for that. We could talk on and on, right? All right. I want to just say one more thing. I really, 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 really recommend that when you're networking and you're partnering with other practitioners, that you actually go in as a client and get a session. Of course, you can tell them that you're a peer and what you're up to. You know, like, I'm looking for other practitioners in the area. I have a bunch of clients that might need to cross train in their body. And so I really want to, find someone who's good. And I'm talking like from a personal trainer to a chiropractor and everybody in between, right? Everybody. I really recommend that we go and have appointments, right? First of all, it's great self-care. Second, it's great networking. Third, you'll learn a ton. And ask these other practitioners what they're up to. Ask them what they're doing, ask them who they serve, ask them, what they think that they're addressing. Maybe like, if I was going to Anna, I'd ask, what's this plan that you put together? Where do you come up with this plan, and how does it piece together? What do you look for? So that if I see that thing that Anna looks for in my office, I can be like, oh, I have your person. My colleague Anna does this thing. I really recommend you go see her. Like, I really recommend you go do that. So I recommend that everyone go and get these sessions with the people that you're going to network with, and it really experience them in your body. I can't tell you how different it can make it, really, other than just knowing it in a concept, to like actually experience it, especially for those of us who are so kinesthetic. And then find a way to replay back to the person that you're partnering with, replay back to them what you think that they do, and have them confirm that, so that you know that you're explaining it exactly right. I had a wellness clinic, an integrated wellness clinic, for a few years, and all different modalities, like 9 different modalities in the practice. And I had this as part of the culture in how we worked together, that every practitioner go and work with another practitioner and find out what they do, so that the nutritionist and herbalist was working with the acupuncturist, who was working with the yoga therapist, who was working with the chiropractor. And we all cross-trained in that way, so that we could know what the differences were between what we did, and then be able to explain it to a client. And what that did in-house was it actually kept our clients in-house, because we could serve them no matter what they needed, we had it. Yeah, Naima, it was really awesome. So for brick and mortar people, that was amazing. I know the world's a little bit different right now, so that might not work in an actual setting, but what you can do is still create a network like that, where that the chiropractor is sending people to you the way you're sending to the physical therapist, who's sending to the acupuncturist, who's sending them back to you. Like, it does work that way. And the only way it can really work is if you have an embodiment of what that is. So I recommend that you maybe as part of your New Year's resolution, who knows, you'll have some self-care time and intention, and that's a great way to kind of mix business with your own self-care. That's what I recommend. All right, loves, I'm going to turn the tables over to you guys. What questions do you have for me today? Thank you for all the chatting and participating in the conversation. I love it. What other questions do you have? It doesn't have to be on this topic. Anybody have a hot seat? Anybody have any client questions? Anyone have any anatomy questions? I love that you're all here on the last Tuesday of the year. You're hungry for it like I am. So let me know how I can serve you today. If you want to come off mute and ask a question, you're welcome to do that. If you're already typing in the chat. Hi, Anna.
Hi, yes, Anna here. I'm really curious about, I've never heard of an upper cervical specialist, and I do have some, that's really where, if that's out, I'm not nearly as happy. It really impacts everything. And so, my functional movement coach helps me, dig in there for massage, but I've never heard about that. Do you know what they do?
I do know what they do. Yes. And we all should know what all of our modality partners do, right? Yes. So your functional movement person helps you. That's amazing. And if your manual person helps you, that's also amazing. And this is an area that neither of them can actually reach. And I know that because I do both movement and manual, right? So it's just an honest answer, because it's so deeply embedded underneath the occiput, which is layered by several muscles and bands of fascia, et cetera. So upper cervical is a specialty beyond chiropractic. So they start as chiropractors and then they move on to be upper cervical specialists. And what they do is they balance the atlas and the axis. And it's not hard crunching. It's not the high impact, high velocity that chiropractic is by definition. That is what it is. It's not like that. In fact, when in my experience, because I of course went and had my own experience with upper cervical, it was very light tapping. It was almost like tapping on my occiput. And I was like, what? That's it? That's crazy. And then of course I felt like this domino effect of results and unwinding and symptoms like throughout the weekend. And it was, bye Diana, it's nice to have you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it was really incredible. And so the folks that I refer to upper cervical are folks who have had a lot of head trauma, right? You can also find that craniosacral therapy is where they need to go as well. But any head trauma where the sutures in the skull have been adjusted, whiplash, which is also massage therapy, but could also be upper cervical, TMJ, which is not, it's rare. 80% of the pain is referred from other places. So it's rarely that it's here. It might even be rare that it's here, but it could be stemming from the sacrum, which is of course tied to the cranium because of cranial sacral law. So when I have folks with TMJ, I'll work on their sacrum first. And then if it doesn't resolve the clicking, then I'll send them to upper cervical, and then they come back and we balance the sacrum again. So yeah, I think those are head trauma, concussions, TMJ, and another way, if I'm doing visual assessment on someone and their head looks like it's just a little askew, but their neck doesn't, then I can tell that there's a atlas axis misalignment. So we use, you can use your visual assessment skills as well to see if there's something that's just not quite right, that even in all the work that you've done, it's still not quite right at the end. They might feel better, but they still look askew. That might be another time when you refer them. Did that answer your question, Anna?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
My pleasure. Someone just popped in. Who came in? Natasha, it's nice to have you. I'm glad you're here. All right, loves, what other questions can I answer for you? We got a couple more minutes. I'm here for it. Anybody else have any questions? You're welcome to use the chat or come off mute or come off camera. Any questions? Okay. Maybe someone's typing a question into the chat as we speak. If not, then I will just let you know that I, again, appreciate all of you. I know that I haven't had a chance to speak directly with each one of you, but I am available for that. So if one of you would like to speak with me one-on-one, please let me know that. And especially at the beginning of the year, first 2 weeks of the year, my schedule allows for that a lot. So I'm very happy to connect with you one-on-one. Hey, Kathleen, back on camera. Nice to see you. Do you have a question, Kathleen? Is that why you came back? No? Okay. So I just want to let you guys know if there's anyone here who would like to speak with me one-on-one, I'm available for that. Just let me know. Either send me an email or you can even type in the chat here. Just type one-on-one and I'll see the chat and I'll reach out to you and we'll get you on my schedule. The other thing I want to let you know is that the Mastery Practitioner program, which is my delight. Oh, delight. We have 2 groups that are running through the program right now. They're having a blast. We're having an alumni meeting on the 11th of January. The reason I'm sharing that with you, I can't invite you unless you're in the Mastery program, but the reason I'm sharing it with you is because we're talking about other ways to, in that alumni meeting, we're talking about other ways to come together for partnering for exactly what we're talking about today. So if there are ideas that you have on other ways that you would like to be served from the rest of us, please let me know that. I'm all ears for that. I know that some of you here are manual practitioners and some of you are movement practitioners and some of you are a hybrid. You're all, welcome. I love each of you, and all the modalities that we have here are equally wonderful and needed. I've said this before, I will say it till the end of my days. There are more people who need us than there are those of us to serve. I mean, just think about it, just by population and by hours of the day. So there's no competition. It's really about how can we serve each other, right? And so if there's a way that you would like to have support that I haven't yet met for you, I would love to hear about that, like legit, right? Especially as we're going into the new year and we're starting new things and putting new ideas together. Even in my Mastery Practitioner group, we're doing things differently at the beginning of the year to continue to serve. So I just want to make sure that you feel like you're getting what you need here, because that's my intention, is to be in service. Naima, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Yeah, a quick question, just something
Sure.
I'm curious about, because I know that you said you, did you say that you still teach yoga or you used to teach yoga? I know you used to teach yoga, but I don't know if you still do.
Yeah. Yep. I'm a woman of many hats.
Okay, cool. Like myself, but and then so do you also like the people that, because I teach my fitness class, my centrics class, but then also like I offer my services of neuromuscular therapy to my clients as well. Is that something that you recommend, or should you, per modality, you should just stick with that? Like, I don't know, I feel like you should be able to offer people everything you got.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's a best practice to do that, but absolutely. I mean, the more we can serve, the better. Well, I don't want to get off on a tangent that might not serve you, Naima. What are you questioning about that? Are you thinking that there's not a way to blend them, or are you thinking that there's not the right time to offer them? What's behind the question?
I guess maybe the best way. I don't know. Because I don't. Sometimes what I do is after my class, sometimes we just I make myself available because I'm on Zoom right now. I'm not in person anymore.
Mhm.
But sometimes even when I was in person, though, I would always hang out afterwards, just so that my students could come up and talk to me if they had questions about anything, if they needed any types of uh, I don't know, if they needed anything that at all, you know, that they had questions about, maybe just a different way to do something or whatever, or something was bothering them. That was actually one of the reasons why I came into massage therapy, is because a group of of women that would always come around me after my class would always just come and ask me some questions about, oh, I have this tension in my neck, or I have this in my shoulders, and they were like, I heard you have really good hands, and I wasn't even a massage therapist at the time, and I'm like, oh, I I've been trained to kind of look at like posture, so I can tell you, you know, what's kind of off or deviation or anything like that, you know. And so that kind of like, well, maybe I need to do something more hands-on, you know. And so I guess that, so now that I'm in that field of neuromuscular therapy, and I do have my fitness following, the best way, I guess, to kind of introduce that. Many of them know that I do that, but like I said, after class, I know I'm kind of skipping all over the place, but after classes, we kind of sometimes just sit around and talk. I wait there, just even online, just to see if they have any questions or if they need anything, you know. And I don't know if it's the right time to be like, oh, well, yeah, so by the way, if you all need me like in this way, I'm also the neuromuscular therapist as well, so I can help you here too. It just, I don't know, maybe it seems a little awkward to me because I haven't really done it that way, so I guess I'm just looking to see a best practice. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're bringing up a really good question. We talk about this a lot, actually. What I love about your sharing is that your people know, like, and trust you. So that know, like, and trust factor that we talked about is definitely there. That's why they're asking you all these questions. And so it's perfect, right? Like, your way of being is really working. There is I believe, a right way to put together a program of the work that we offer. There's a right order to it. And there's also some skill in messaging, right? So we want to be able to message to the people that we're working with what's needed and why it's needed, so that we don't just throw a bunch of stuff at them like a spa menu, right? Like, we don't want them to pick, you know, a bunch of spa treatments and based on how much time they have and how much money they want to spend. What we want them to do is pick what they're going to do with you, which modality you offer, for a reason. And maybe the reason is just taking care of their body. Totally cool. But if you're working with pain and injury, there is a trajectory involved in that. And so what we want to do, again, you guys have heard me say this, we want to know how the body's designed. We want to know what went wrong, which created the pain in the first place. We want to know how to get them back. And that is the trajectory. That is the program. And we want to be able to message that to them so that, again, they become allies in what you're doing, that they are part of the process, that they are not just, you know, dependent on us as their practitioner, but choosing from an empowered place to be with us on the program that we're recommending for them. And that, you know, that's a skill set, of course, to develop the messaging around that, and also to know, like, where your modalities fit into that program. In our mastery program, Each practitioner that comes in, like you, Naima, has, you know, a ton of experience behind their belts or under their belts behind them, of course. And so each practitioner has a slightly different version of their program because of what they come to the table with, right? Like what I would put together and what you put together would be similar, but not the same because I have different certifications than you do. But there's still a way of putting a program together for a client that we're serving that gives them the best results and also gives it's value for value. Like I really preach that a lot. It's got to be value for value. It's got to be high value for them and high value for you. And most importantly, it's got to get them to their goal in a very concise period of time. And the messaging around that matters because you can have the best program on the planet, but if you're not messaging to them why and how, both why they need the program, why the program would work, and how it works, what's involved in it. And I'm not talking features, I'm talking benefits. Those are big differences. If you're clear on messaging that, then it will land. If you're not clear on messaging that, it just sounds like gumbled stuff in their head and they like you and they want to, but they're not sure, and then it won't work. So, you know, there's some skill to develop around messaging and there's some skill to develop around the programming. But the answer to your question is, should you? Yes. Yes, absolutely. So the more we can do to be in service, I think the better, for sure. For sure. There's a masterclass that I taught during the pandemic, actually, called the 4-Part Success Framework. And it's available in the Academy for free. Like it's a download. It's not outdated, but again, it was in the middle of the pandemic. And I talk about those 4 parts of, you know, knowing the body and then messaging and then being able to market what you do and being, you know, really good at what you do and being able to tie all that together so that it's value for you and value for the people that you're serving. You're welcome to that masterclass if you think that would support you. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're looking for at this point, Naima, but you're welcome to it.
Awesome. Can you tell me what the name of that is one more time?
Yeah, it's called the 4-Part Success Framework.
Okay. Okay. I'm actually really glad that you expressed the answer the way that you did, because the way that you did, because it made me think about like something that is taught by some of the instructors, but not only just taught, but I've heard it through people who've taught seminars, probably yourself, just in different ways. And it just kind of hit me right in the head when you said it, was that to get out of thinking about yourself and the things that yes, you know that you can offer things, but not so much to think about yourself and what you can what you have, but what does that client need first, you know? So if you are thorough in paying attention to what that client needs, you know, and really actively paying attention, you know, like, okay, like you said, when you said, yeah, we might teach different, we might have a similar setup, but we teach different, you know, we have certifications or what in different modalities, you know, like yoga might be something for someone, but someone may not desire yoga, and if you listen to them, you can kind of tell maybe from some of their past experiences. I've heard people tell me that a lot, like, yeah, well, yoga was okay, but it wasn't for me. I teach yoga too. I'm certified in that too, but I don't want to offer that to you if that's not something that is desirable for you. If you need something, you say, well, yeah, I've had issues with my joints. Oh, okay, perfect. I know something that can help you with that, you know. Or if I don't teach that, then that's when you go to, you know, referring someone out to say, okay, yeah, like, well, you know, Gina, she has this great program where it deals with, you know, being, you know, having its ease on the joints, and that's probably what you want to get yourself involved in, you know. So yeah, that totally made sense to me, the way that you expressed that. So thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad that it supported you. You brought up another point, Naima, that I'd love to expand on. When we hear from our clients, oh yeah, yoga or massage or acupuncture, chiropractor, fill in the gap, fill in the blank, right? In X modality, it really wasn't my thing. That might be true. And it also might mean that what they were going for, that modality wasn't the thing for. So it's not that yoga or chiropractic wasn't their thing. It's that it wasn't the right modality to pair with what their goal was at the time, which is, again, back to our initial conversation here, which is about partnering with each other, partnering with our clients, partnering with all the different types of modalities, and partnering with the end results, right? Like we got to get them to the end result. So a great question. And again, when I said this earlier, be willing to take the feedback. A great question when someone says yoga wasn't my thing, or whatever it is that they did before you. Why not? What was your experience there? And let them tell you more, right? So it'll give you lots of information about, was it the right modality and not the right time, or was there something awry in the delivery of that modality, right? Like,
I've also asked people too, like, what type of yoga? Like, there's so many different types of yoga out there. They're not the same. Like, you can you can be doing some, I don't know, just some ashtanga, or you can be doing, just a general vinyasa flow. You can be just doing, a combination of yogas. You can be doing, so many different types. So yeah, that's all I feel like is important too.
yeah, absolutely. Right. Like I have said this story before where I got a massage from a colleague in town, and the colleague had super long nails, super like long polished manicured nails. And I remember like thinking like, wow, I'm super curious. How's this going to roll out? Like, what the hell is this going to be? And she gave me a massage for sure. It was a full body massage. Her technique and, the layout and her confidence in her hands was all there, except that she only touched me with this part of her hand. So it was like palming the whole way. I mean, it was fine. There was no way that she was ever going to get in and do any trigger point work or any neuromuscular holds or anything like that. But her, her rhythm, if you will, throughout the body was fine. If that was my first and only massage, and I had pain in my neck because I couldn't turn my neck when I woke up in the morning, that massage would not have been for me. And I would have thought massage is not my thing. So to your point, like, well, not only what, I wouldn't ask them, what type of yoga did you do? I wouldn't ask them that because they don't know the names. We barely know the names. We can barely say Ashtanga from Iyengar from Hatha. Like, don't ask them to give us definitions that put them on the spot that make them feel uneducated. Just ask them, what did you do there? What didn't you like about that massage? And if I were a client expressing to you this massage therapist, my experience with this massage therapist, I would have said, well, it was relaxing, but it didn't feel like it changed anything. So what I'm hearing then is that there wasn't enough focus on muscle spindles and Golgi tendons and attachment points. That's what I'm hearing. So then I know that this person needs something structurally changed. That's what they're looking for. Or at a minimum, they're looking for something that is more productive. And I wouldn't even say deep tissue. When folks come to me and say, well, I really prefer deep tissue. I've said this before too, probably last week. Well, there's a difference between I want deep tissue because the last person that I went to never really got into the attachment points and I never felt like productive in my body. There's a difference between I want that versus I want someone who's going to go in and like cross fiber friction and break up some scar tissue. There's a difference between just touch me with some firmness versus I want things to be broken up and altered. Those are all in the realm of deep tissue, the same way that yoga is a wide umbrella. So instead of asking for the type, because that doesn't really tell us anything, because there's variances in each type as well, just ask them what worked, what did you like, what didn't you like about it, why didn't it work for you? And usually when you ask a client that question, they'll start backpedaling a little bit and almost apologizing because they feel like they're throwing the practitioner under the bus. Give them permission to just state their preferences. Say, oh, no, it's not personal. It's not personal. I just want to know, I want to hear from your body. Like, what did your body experience in that experience so that I know not to do that, to do something different, right? It's not about the practitioner wasn't good. That's not what we're here. It's like saying an artist isn't good just because it's not your taste. That's not true. It's not true. So again, I could go on and on about this topic. I'm so glad you all were here. We are at the top of the hour and at the end of our calendar year. I could not be happier to have spent the time with you. I'm so grateful that you're all here. and staying on top of things and being conscientious and doing great work in the world. Please continue to do the work that you're doing. It's so needed. It's so needed. And I'm here for anything that I can be for you by way of support so that you can keep filling your cup. My pleasure, Naima. Thank you too. So that you can keep filling your cup and keep giving generously. So until I see you next time, we'll be back next Tuesday. Until I see you next time, be well and keep doing good work in the world. Bye for now.
Thank you